Chapter 26. The Collector. Ashbourne whispered of a man called the Collector. Few had seen him, fewer survived meeting him. He didn't steal gold or jewels, he stole histories. In a hidden cellar beneath the city archives, a cloaked figure moved among shelves of objects: a blood-stained violin, a wedding ring engraved with names no one remembered, a child's toy horse carved from bone. Each item was labeled not with a name, but with a date that had been erased from every calendar. The Collector paused at an empty shelf. The tag read, Alara Hastings, still pending. Chapter 27. Rowan's double. While Rowan and Alara's true selves remained trapped on the phantom train, their reflections in the windows stepped free. These echoes wore the same faces but moved with subtle wrongness. Smiles too wide, eyes too still. Echo Rowan picked up his badge from the table. I think I'll wear this life a while, he said softly. Echo Alara ran her hands along the walls of the attic. So many locked rooms in here? She whispered. So many memories to pry open. The real Rowan and Alara could only watch, pounding against the glass of the train as their doppelgangers walked into their world. Chapter 28. The Jar Cracks. In the Langdon Hotel's endless corridor, a tremor shook the shelves of memory jars. One jar, the one holding Alara's grandmother, developed a hairline crack. The old woman pressed her face to the fracture, eyes wild. Through the fissure, she glimpsed something that should not exist, an ocean made entirely of doors floating in the dark. Her voice echoed faintly through the halls. The tide is rising. They won't hold much longer. The crimson woman tilted her head. Good. Let it drown them. Chapter 29. The Painter. On the edge of Ashbourne lived a reclusive painter named Ives. For years, he had been considered mad, filling canvas after canvas with images no one understood. Burning cities, glass forests, and an endless train with faces trapped in its windows. But his newest painting chilled even him. It showed Alara's house, except every door was bricked shut, except one. That door opened into the endless corridor. Ives trembled as he realized the painting wasn't finished. His brush moved against his will, scrawling words across the canvas. Do not let the crown assemble. Chapter 30. The Sixth Twist. Back. On the phantom train, Rowan and Alara sat powerless as the pale boy approached. He pressed his hand to the glass that separated them from their reflections. Do you know why the keys are glass? He asked, almost gently. They shook their heads. Because glass breaks, and when it does... He tapped the window. A crack spiderwebbed across the glass. What's trapped behind doesn't stay trapped. The window shattered, and Rowan and Alara were pulled into a place beyond corridors, beyond Ashbourne, beyond anything human. They landed on the shore of the ocean of doors Alara's grandmother had glimpsed. Thousands of doors floated endlessly on black water, knocking softly as though begging to be opened. Far out on the horizon, a massive shape stirred beneath the waves. The door that breathes. The black water lapped at their ankles, cold as glass. Thousands of doors drifted past, some upright, some half submerged. A few rattled on their own, as if something inside was trying to get out. Alara froze when one door floated near. Its wood expanded and contracted like lungs. With every breath, muffled whispers leaked through. Alara! 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 Rowan dragged her back before she touched it. But even after it drifted away, the whispers remained in her ears. Chapter 32. The Lighthouse Keeper. On a distant spit of rock stood a crumbling lighthouse. No flame burned within, but the tower pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Inside, they found a man hunched over a rusted lantern. His skin was translucent, veins filled with faint light. He looked at them with weary eyes. You shouldn't be here, he rasped. None of you should. The ocean feeds on the curious. Rowan asked what lay beneath the waves. The man's face twisted. You don't want to know, but you will. We all do in the end. He offered them a warning instead. Never open a door with your own name. That's how it gets you. Chapter 33. The Crown of Shards. That night, as they rested on the lighthouse floor, Alara dreamt again. In her vision, she saw 12 shards of glass floating above the ocean, aligning themselves into a jagged crown. The moment it formed, every door on the water burst open at once. From within poured endless hands, skeletal, fleshy, shadowed, all reaching upward. She woke screaming, clutching at her head. Rowan's chest glowed brighter than ever, cracks spreading down his arms. The shard embedded in him pulsed in rhythm with the dream. Chapter 34. The Hunter. Back in Ashbourne, Echo Rowan and Echo Elara weren't unnoticed. A figure had begun stalking them, a gaunt man with a hooked cane and one blind eye, known only as the Hunter. He cornered Echo Elara in an alley. "You wear her skin, but you're not her," he hissed. "The city remembers the real one. And so do I." She only smiled. "Then perhaps you'll enjoy what's coming." When he tried to strike her with the cane, it passed through her like smoke. She whispered something into his ear, words he would never repeat. And the Hunter fled in terror, carving the broken key symbol into the nearest wall as protection. Chapter 35. The Seventh Twist. Back on the ocean, Rowan and Elara noticed one door drifting closer than the rest. Unlike the others, it wasn't made of wood or iron. It was glass, and carved into it was Alara's name. The lighthouse keeper screamed from the tower, "Don't open it! If you do—" But before he could finish, the glass door cracked on its own. A blinding light spilled out, and Elara felt something step into her, through her, as if she were not
Chapter
flesh
36.
but another door. The Collector's Bargain. The Collector stood before his shelves of stolen histories, a lantern in one hand, a shard of glass in the other. He placed the shard on an empty pedestal labeled the Ashbourne Pact. The veins of light within the shard flared, casting fractured beams across the cellar. A voice spoke from the shadows, the Crimson Woman. "You've waited a long time to finish your collection." The Collector's hood tilted. "I do not collect for myself. I preserve what must be forgotten." She stepped closer, holding the shadowy glass key. "Then preserve this, and I'll give you the crown when it's whole." The Collector froze. The crown should never assemble. Her smile was hidden, but her silence said enough. Chapter 37. Echoes at the Precinct. Echo Rowan strolled into the police precinct with a calm confidence the real Rowan never had. His colleagues noticed the difference. How sharp his eyes had become, how commanding his presence was. He opened case files Rowan had buried for years, solving them with unnerving ease. But each solution led to an outcome worse than the crime itself. Innocents jailed, witnesses vanished, records rewritten. Detectives whispered that Rowan Hastings had changed overnight. None dared say it aloud, but more than one thought the same thing. He was no longer human. Chapter 38. The Jar Shatters. In the Langdon corridor, Elara's grandmother's jar finally split open. Glass rained to the ground as she staggered free, gasping. But she wasn't the same. Her eyes glowed faintly, her skin marked with thin glass cracks. She whispered one word over and over, as though she'd forgotten all else. "Crown. Crown. Crown." The man with the light key watched grimly. "It begins." The Crimson Woman only laughed. "It always begins. That's the curse of it." Chapter 39. The Painter's Vision. Ives the painter woke at his easel with blood on his hands. The canvas before him was finished, though he had no memory of painting it. It showed Ashbourne split in two, half thriving, half burning, while above it floated the glass crown. At its base knelt two figures, Rowan and Elara. But in the painting, Rowan had no face, and Alara's body was hollow. A door standing where her chest should be. Ives stumbled back. He heard something whisper behind him. His own painting's voice. "You painted it because you saw it. You saw it because it will be." Chapter 40. The Eighth Twist. The phantom trains screeched across impossible landscapes, empty now but for the pale boy. He hummed a tuneless melody, staring into the dark windows. Then, in the reflection, something stirred. Not Rowan, not Elara, but something else that had taken their places inside the glass. The boy tilted his head. You've woken up. That means the ocean's begun to choose." The reflection of Elara leaned close to the glass and smiled, a smile far too wide for her face. And in her Chapter
reflection's
41.
hand glimmered
What
not
stepped
one,
in?
but two glass keys.
When the glass door cracked and the light entered her, Alara dropped to her knees, gasping. The world around her warped. The water rose and fell as though breathing, and the doors groaned like trees in the wind. Rowan grabbed her shoulders. Alara, what did it do to you? Her eyes flickered with light, then shadows. A second voice slipped out of her mouth, layered beneath her own. Not what? Who? For an instant, Rowan saw another figure standing inside her. A woman in crimson silk, but faceless. Her form blurred like smoke trapped under glass. Then Alara coughed violently, and the vision vanished. Chapter 42. The Door Beneath the Waves. They tried to flee the glass door, but the ocean surged, pulling them toward the horizon. The waters parted suddenly, revealing not thousands of floating doors, but one colossal door beneath the surface. It was so vast it could only be seen in pieces. Iron hinges larger than houses, a handle like a tower. Chains of light bound it shut, each link humming with unbearable power. Alara clutched her chest. It's calling. Rowan shook his head. Whatever's behind it, stay away. The lighthouse keeper's voice carried faintly over the waves. That's the first door, the one the pact swore would never open. Chapter 43. The crown appears again as they stared at the first door. Shards of glass rose out of the ocean, orbiting above it like fragments of a shattered halo. Slowly, they aligned, forming the jagged glass crown Alara had seen in her dream. When the crown completed its circle, every door on the water began to knock at once. Louder, faster, desperate. Rowan pressed his hands to his chest, pain tearing through him. The shard embedded in him pulsed in sync with the crown. I can feel it, he gasped. It's trying to pull me through. Chapter 44. The Voice Below. The water around the first door boiled. Then came the voice. It was not heard, it was felt, vibrating through bone and blood. The pact failed. The locks are breaking. Bring me the crown and I will return what was taken from you. Rowan staggered. He thought he heard his father's voice tangled inside the roar. Alara gripped his arm, but her other hand twitched as though reaching toward the crown against her will. Don't listen, Rowan pleaded. But Alara's second voice whispered from her mouth again, calm and cold. He already is. Chapter 45. The ninth twist. The ocean surged. The glass crown shattered into 12 shards, each one shooting across the sky like falling stars, vanishing toward Ashbourne. At the same moment, the phantom train roared back across the horizon, windows glowing red. Inside, their reflections pressed against the glass. Grinning, and then Rowan and Alara were gone, snatched from the ocean of doors, hurled back into Ashbourne. They awoke in the ruins of the Langdon Hotel, but the corridor was no longer hidden. It stood open for the whole city to see, and doors were already beginning to open. The first door opens, Ashbourne woke screaming. At dawn, the Langdon Hotel, long a husk, now shimmered with impossible geometry. The hidden corridor had spilled outward like a wound, twisting the air. And in front of hundreds of horrified witnesses, the first door opened on its own. From it stumbled a woman in rags, her eyes glowing faintly, whispering nonsense. Behind her, shadows crawled along the floor, stretching far too long for the morning light. By the time police tried to intervene, she was gone. But the shadows weren't. Chapter 47. The City Shifts. Within hours, more disturbances spread. In the marketplace, every mirror reflected not shoppers, but endless corridors. At the harbor, water boiled with pale hands reaching up from beneath the surface. The cathedral bells rang at midnight and noon simultaneously, shaking the city with sound. Rumors spread that Ashbourne had been cursed. Others said it was punishment for the pact. But no one agreed what the pact truly was. Meanwhile, Rowan and Alara stumbled through the chaos, each carrying their own burden. Rowan with the shard tearing him apart. Alara with something inside her whispering truths too vast to hold. Chapter 48. The Hunter Returns. The gaunt hunter cornered them in a deserted alley, his hooked cane clattering against the cobblestones. His blind eye wept blood. You've done it, he hissed. You've loosed the corridor on the city. Do you even know what hunts through those doors? Rowan drew his gun. Then tell us. The hunter snarled. No one tells. We remember. And we kill echoes before they root themselves. Alara's second voice slipped out before she could stop it. You didn't kill the last one. The hunter froze. His cane trembled. Then, without another word, he turned and fled. Chapter 49. The Collector Moves. Beneath the city, the Collector studied the shards of glass that had fallen back to Ashbourne. 3 already lay on his shelves, humming softly. He placed his gloved hand over them and whispered, Once 12 become 1, the crown will rise. But if I hold them first, I decide who wears it. From the darkness, a faint child's laughter answered. He froze, lantern shaking, because the laughter came from a jar that should have been empty. Chapter 50. The 10th twist. At sunset, every clock in Ashbourne froze at the same moment, 6:06. And in that silence, a door appeared where no door had been before, right in the center of the city square. It was glass, and carved into it were not one name but hundreds. Every citizen who stared too long found their own name glowing there, and one by one, the names began to crack. Chapter 51. When a Name Breaks. The crowd pressed around the glass door in the city square, murmuring in terror as names flickered across its surface. Some begged to see their names. Others fled. Then a single name cracked open like ice. Clara Whitlow. A young seamstress near the front gasped. It was hers. Before anyone could pull her away, the glass pulsed and swallowed her reflection right out of her body. Clara collapsed, lifeless, and from the door stepped her reflection, eyes hollow, smile too wide, carrying a shard of glass like a knife. The square erupted in screams. Chapter 52. The Spread of Echoes. Panic tore through Ashbourne as more names cracked. Dozens fell, their reflections crawling out, moving stiffly but with predatory precision. The echoes didn't attack outright. Instead, they blended into the crowd, copying voices, gestures, until no one knew who was real. By nightfall, the city had split itself. Barricaded homes, whispers of neighbors being not themselves, and mobs dragging suspects into the streets. Rowan watched from a rooftop, fists clenched. We can't fight them all. Alara, pale and shaking, whispered back, They're not supposed to be here. Not yet. Chapter 53. The Crimson Woman's Play. In the Langdon corridor, the Crimson Silk Woman stood before the man with the light key. The doors won't stay closed now, she said. He tightened his grip on the glowing key. Then we hold them as long as we can. She lifted her porcelain mask, revealing her star-filled void of a face. Why hold them when we could let them through? He turned away. That's not the pact. Her laughter echoed through the endless hall. The pact was broken before you were born. Chapter 54. The Painter's Last Work. Ives the painter chained himself to his easel, desperate to finish one last canvas before the city consumed itself. His brush flew with unnatural speed, paint splattering across the floor. When he stepped back, the image froze his blood. The entire city square drowned beneath an ocean of doors. At the center stood Alara, wearing the glass crown. Her eyes were not hers. Moments later, Ives' house was found empty. Only the painting remained, still wet. Chapter 55. The 11th Twist. At midnight, Rowan and Alara returned to the square. The glass door was still there, glowing brighter, pulsing with hundreds of names. Rowan's blood ran cold when he saw one near the top begin to crack. Rowan Hastings. The shard in his chest blazed with light. His reflection pressed against the glass door from the inside, grinning. Alara grabbed his arm. If your name breaks, it won't be just you. Rowan stared at her, fear for the first time clear in his eyes. Then what do we do? Behind them, the crowd screamed because another name cracked open. Not Rowan's. Alara
Chapter
Hastings.
56.
When the door claims her. The glass door in the square split like ice under a hammer. Alara's name flared so bright it blinded everyone. Rowan dragged her back, but it was too late. Her reflection stepped out. It wasn't hollow like the others. It was perfect. Every tilt of her head, every flicker of her expression was hers, but sharper, colder, as though refined into something beyond human. The crowd fell silent. Even the echoes hesitated, bowing their heads as though in reverence. The reflection raised its hand, and the glass crown shimmered faintly above its head. Chapter 57. The reflection speaks. For the first time, an echo spoke. Its voice was Alara's, but harmonized with countless others. The lock is broken. The door is open. Ashbourne will remember what it tried to forget. The earth beneath the square groaned. Cracks spread outward, glowing with light. People screamed and scattered as fragments of glass rose from the ground, orbiting around the reflection. Rowan staggered toward it, clutching his chest. If you're her, then where's the real Alara? The reflection smiled. She's not lost. She's inside, watching. Chapter 58. The Hunter's Last Stand. The hunter burst from the crowd, swinging his hooked cane with feral desperation. He struck the reflection across the chest, shattering part of its form into shards. For a moment it flickered. The true Alara's voice cried out within it, "Rowan, help me!" But the reflection only steadied, its wounds knitting. It seized the hunter by the throat and whispered something into his blind ear. He dropped lifeless to the ground, his cane clattering across the stones. His last breath rasped. The crown. Not her. Chapter 59. The Collector intervenes. As the reflection raised its hand again, the Collector appeared at the edge of the square. He carried 3 shards of the crown in his satchel, their light spilling across his cloak. Not yet, he said, his voice echoing with power. You're incomplete. The reflection Alara turned, tilting its head. Then give me what I am missing. The Collector shook his head. Not until I decide whose head the crown belongs on. The crowd gasped as every echo turned toward him at once. Chapter 60. The 12th Twist. The square trembled violently. The glass door behind the reflection cracked again, this time not for a name. A shape pressed against the other side. A colossal hand, skeletal and blazing with light, reached forward as if testing the barrier. The reflection's smile widened. Rowan clutched his chest as the shard in him pulsed furiously. The first door's voice thundered across the city. Bring me the crown, or I will take it myself. And then, Chapter 61. Door shattered, when the door breaks. The glass door exploded outward in a storm of shards. Screams tore through the square as the air turned sharp with the smell of burning stone. From the gaping frame crawled a massive hand of bone and light, each finger jointed with chains of glass. It dragged itself forward, cracking cobblestones beneath its weight. But the arm didn't end. It just kept coming, impossibly long, vanishing into the blinding void beyond the shattered door. The ground quaked as the thing began to pull itself through. Chapter 62. The voice within. Rowan dropped to his knees, clutching at his chest as the shard inside him seared. His vision split. Half the burning city square, half the endless ocean of doors. And there, within the void, his father's voice boomed. Rowan, stop fighting it. You were chosen. You are the hinge. Without you, the crown cannot settle. Rowan screamed against it. Chosen for what? But the answer came from behind him. Not his father, but Alara's reflection. To hold the door open. Chapter 63. The real Alara. Inside the reflection, Alara fought against the thing that had slipped into her. She was adrift in a mirror space, surrounded by infinite versions of herself, some older, some younger, some twisted and inhuman. They whispered all at once. You are the lock. You are the lock. You are the lock. But one version, an older Alara, scarred and weary, grabbed her hand. No, you're not just the lock. You're the keyhole. And that means you choose who fits. Before she could ask what that meant, the mirror around her cracked. Chapter 64. The Collector's Gambit. In the burning square, the Collector strode forward, raising his lantern. The 3 shards he carried lifted into the air, forming half a circlet above him. I will not let the first door wear the crown, he declared. The echoes shrieked in unison and charged him. With a sweep of his hand, he trapped half of them inside jars that materialized midair, their faces pounding against the glass. But the reflection Alara only laughed. You think you decide? The crown assembles itself. The shards in his lantern pulled violently toward her. Chapter 65. The 13th Twist. The skeletal hand from the shattered door slammed down, shaking the entire city. From the void beyond, a face pressed forward. but not fully visible, obscured by blinding fractures of glass. Still, all who saw it swore they felt its gaze inside their bones. The reflection Alara raised her arms, glass crown flickering above her head. "Come through," she whispered. "I am ready." And in that moment, the real Alara's voice rang out from within. "No, not while I still have a choice." The reflection's smile faltered for the first time.